fellow travelers. Welcome to Biohacking Chronicles. This series of chronicles very quintessential to understand the origin of a word, thus the origin of biohacking, because I feel like now more than ever it's trivial. It's almost become a bastardized term. Now, that's not an issue or problem. That's just realizing that that's the starting point, biohacking. In chronicles, if you look at the origin of the word, it's very interesting, and thus I put the two together. But this series is for me to entail exclusive content to you guys. Things that I've come across, things that I've implemented in my own journey, from going from skinny fat, out of shape with love handles, excess body fat, metabolic syndrome, going dojo mode and getting super shredded, then going on heavy bulks, then not working out for periods of time. But even now, to the point where from May to August, I have done a few recomp sessions, but it's mainly been all my protocols and dynamic lifestyle, no working out at all, like no core, nothing, just stretching. It was a psychological test, a spiritual test, but also a physical test, testing a lot of things, hypothesis, like how much muscle can you actually retain if you don't work out? Like if you're really living a dynamic life and you understand you can burn calories by thinking, you're implementing that into your business, right? And then you're focusing on breathing oxygenation, breathing out those calories. Then you understand you can do walks, heat walks, right? Where you put like black clothing, maybe linen, right? So you're absorbing everything, right? Because you understand the color black and what it does with the light spectrum. But it's linen or cotton and it's very easy and it breathes well. So you can get a cooling effect. Now, ideally you'd want to do it shirtless, but that's something for the people that want to wear clothing. Now, why am I trying to convey this? I'm trying to convey this because I don't really post a lot of things in the public in terms of what I do on a daily basis and what are the people call hacks, but it's not hacks, it's a lifestyle, it's an idea, it's a philosophy, it's a way of living. And I want to, in today's series of Biohacking Chronicles, address a topic that's very pertinent and relevant, which is skinny people that want to put on mass, the way of the builder, which is intrinsic, because we know that muscle is crucial in terms of longevity. So now that we know that, we have to address a few things, right? The first thing is the following: the way of the builder. You have to build the foundation. What is the foundation? Well, first of all, we've addressed it's the way of vitality, which is metabolic flexibility, reducing carbohydrates for a while, seeing how your body feels, and then doing high levels of healthy fats and proteins. The reason I'm saying all this is because I'm going to actually tell you guys sequencing, which it kind of goes the following. It's kind of biohacking, level 1. Level 2, you have biostacking, where you kind of understand the certain protocols, how your body reacts to it, how it works, and you start combining it and stacking, right? And then you have sequencing, where you're looking at more of a macro level, even at weekly, monthly, and how you're harmonizing and combining all these elements for whatever the goal or the desire is. But then you have bioharmonizing, which is more of a lifestyle, more of where you actually start getting into like theses like mine for the way of the merchant. Like I go through long periods of time without working out, which there's tons of benefits to working out, but can one become lean, even get an aesthetic like an anime character without working out? And it is possible. So that's bioharmonizing. Is almost like it becomes a lifestyle. But through each of these levels, which the last level is where ascension occurs, is bioalchemy, right? And I'm not talking about alchemy from a black magic standpoint or skies for other propagandas. It's more of a student mentality in understanding alchemical processes, and that you can use everything and it can become an alchemical process: air, water, fire, earth. Things you can do for free, things that are inexpensive. The idea for you in level 1 biohacking is kind of understanding like what's the noise, right? And then go against it and see what goes and what works. I'm going to give you an example. Cold plunge for the way of the builder. It's essential to understand that cold is going to play a crucial role in toning the body and aiding with reduction of inflammation, right? But it's understanding, do not become obsessed, right, with a style, like pursuing getting super cold if your skin's dry, if you got eczema, or if you notice that your lifestyle super stress and that's even adding more stress. So you kind of want to even work your way toward it, almost like using the style of progressive overload. But it's crucial to implement cold, right? The reason I'm saying this is because this is what I've been doing the last few days. It's called cold adaptation. It's cold adaptation because The same way you adapt your muscle, right, through the process of drop setting, supersetting, right? Whether you're doing decline push-ups, then you're doing standard push-ups, and then you're doing assisted push-ups or that squeeze with a band, with your hands, with towel. The idea is to progressively stimulate yourself to the max and endure the pain and grow from it, but do it in a way where it doesn't compromise harm. So for the way of cold adaptation, you would do cold showers. So you start with a hot shower and then you start doing cold. And then you can put on your skin, for example, a little bit of aloe butter with a little peppermint oil, right? Just a little layer on the skin. That's gonna amplify how cold that water is. And then you'll do cold in the pouches, like in your love handles, on your thighs, wherever you wanna really target the alchemical process of one kind of fat tissue to a different kind of fat tissue, which is more easier for your body, if you prompt it right, to use during your vitality workouts and your sun cycles. But then you have to understand that once you've adapted and been able to tap into that, then you can start introducing carbohydrates. So for the last few days, I've been fasting a lot and not training, right? So I'm kind of, my split right now, it's very intrinsic in terms of a lot of mobility, a lot of motion, and then going full hypertrophy. But hypertrophy with the opposite of not only stretching, but actually going into static stretches, right? So if I'm, for example, gonna do a lot of pulling motion, right? Because, I've been hunched over for a long period of time, or so it felt. It's a lot of drills with spine, with a lot of energy, a lot of breathing. That was my main focus, right? A lot of pulling. But then I realized, okay, I'm sore. I need to spend now time pushing, which the truth is, I haven't really trained chest in a long time. So what I did was I trained chest through progressive overload, through bands, body weight, and weights at the gym. But in between sets, I was actually stretching super long. Like I think it was 40-pound band or 50-pound. And I was pushing myself and just stretching. In my hand, band was so tight around my skin that it caused all the vessels to pop. So my hand was red everywhere. So what I did was, you guys will see I have the wraps with the hooks, right? So I used the wrap with the hook, and I used the hooks to actually let the band do the stretching. So instead of wrapping it around my wrist and it hurting, I use the hooks. And then even I tried wrapping around it with the band, and since I had the wristband, it didn't come in contact with my skin, so there was no pain. It was actually super light, and I was actually, which is the same principle which I was trying to convey with hanging from a bar and not causing tension in your forearms, anything, just letting go. So with a band, it was the same exact thing. So guys, implement band stretching with the hooks. It's a complete game changer. So that was my cycle. But in terms of food, it was a lot of bone broths, getting my digestion ready for eating a lot of food, because I've been on a lot of fasts, and the last thing I want to do is introduce high levels of meal for training that I don't feel like doing, right? Because if I hit that and then it hurts my stomach, it's not conducive and ideal. What I want to do is start going on walks, right? Start warming up the body with bands, start doing some core training, some back drills, some spine drills, some mobility drills, some hip flexor drills, some wrist drills, right? Get the body warmed up, doing the bone broths, then start adding eggs, wonton, then adding meat, and then doing the micro workouts, right? With the idea of like full body hypertrophy with some stretching in between. And then if I'm going to isolate something because I want to target, for example, the pulling of my back, the next day I'm going to be stretching that and alkalinizing my body, and alkalinizing just with a little baking soda, and just do a little teaspoon, and you'll notice a massive recovery, right? Because it alkalinizes the muscle. And if you alkalinize the muscle, it's a lot easier to hit more PRs, go longer, right? It's a cheat code. But the idea is, if you overdo it, you'll notice side effects. So be smart with it. And also baking soda, you can use it for your detox baths. Throw it in the water and just steep in it. Let your skin steep in it, and it just detoxifies the skin. And there's core principles that you guys need to understand, which is you want to go as heavy as you can when you have to target and isolate that muscle. And then you want to focus on recovery. How fast can I recover so that I can hit it again? Problem is, most guys are like, I want to get a big chest. I train chest every day. Same stimulus, same routine, same workout. Your chest might grow, but it's not going to grow the fastest. So what I did with sequencing was bone broth, wonton soup. Then I started introducing some rice noodles, gluten-free, then some meats. And then that's when the biostacking, biosequencing occurs. You can do bone broth. That's where you can really tap into what I preach, which is going heavy on the fat. Because if in these concoctions, you're adding butter, healthy fats, it can be olive oil, avocado oil. The idea is understanding which fats are ideal at higher temperatures, which usually, if you're gonna do a bone broth, right, it tends to get up higher temperatures. So that's why I like to stick with grass-fed raw butter. And that's when the biostacking sequencing occurs, right? Because I can get a nice piece of meat that'll last me 3 to 4 meals. And all those meals, I'm gonna either sequence it with high protein, high fat, right? Carbohydrates maybe tied in if I'm gonna do my workout, and then get the body warmed up with the spices. And that's what I did. So it was the meat combined with the noodles, then the meat combined with rice. And the rice, I made sure I cut as much glucose as possibly could. So I put it in apple cider vinegar, right, for 30 minutes with some water. And then you can do that multiple times and get rid of it, but it gets to a point where if you do multiple rinses with apple cider vinegar, the rice, the consistency is not going to be there. It's going to be like Play-Doh. So maybe do apple cider vinegar once and then just let it steep in water and then rinse it out. Or you can repurpose that water if you want and do it in your baths, right? Rice water is going to be super beneficial for like the brightness and the collagen of the skin. It's a cheat code. So it's the repurposing, right? And then it's how much you want to do it without like bioharming, which goes into like overdoing it with not being congruent with your goals and your lifestyle, right? Because everything is great when everything is aligned with the purpose. So what I did was the following. I'm like, I need carbohydrates, so I did French toast. French toast, guys, is one of my favorite things to tap into because I can put tons of eggs, raw milk, cinnamon, nutmeg, vanilla. And then what I do for the toast is I grab bread, usually sourdough, and I'll do gluten-free, and that's tons of protein. And then if you don't want to overdo it, you can just do a little maple syrup and salt, and that's fine. But if you want to stack on the protein, that's when you get nutty, guys. That's where you can do like raw vanilla ice cream. You can do like maple syrup. You can do walnut butter. You can do almond butter. You can do pistachio butter. Wild frozen blueberries, right? And I did that, and then I hit everything I could with all my muscles after a good warm-up and after shower, right? Because I actually I got a shower yesterday, and I started noticing, okay, I'm stiff. So I stretched for like 20 minutes in the shower because the water was hot, but it really loosens up the muscles. Then I did my stretch, and then I did all my hypertrophy training. And then I didn't eat anything after my workout, right? I was intentional. I had half a cup of wine, and then I just did some digestive teas and just water. And the idea was to deaminate and flush the system. And then today, what I've been doing is heavily focusing on the gourd. I did mate. I've done shashander berries, right, which are great for the eye. And then that automatically puts me in a state where like I'm not even hungry, right? And so today I've been fasting all day. I'm really not hungry at all. So the intuition here is like, what's the approach? Well, the approach is still going to be hypertrophy. The approach is probably, I'm going to eat some carbohydrates, kind of like spike myself, go for a walk, mitigate the glucose spike. And then I'm going to do healthy fats and protein, go and do my moon cycle. My moon cycle, the objective and the idea for the way of the builder is the opposite of what I did yesterday, which yesterday was the isolation of back, legs, and 1 or 2 routines of chest. And now the goal today is going to be the opposite. So I'll let you think about what the opposite would be in terms of the psychological process of mind, which is kind of like hitting the whole body in terms of homeostasis, right? Because if you haven't worked out everything, you're conducive in your idea and your style of training should be according to that. And if you are going to introduce carbohydrates, I already know a difference. Like I already feel more sluggish. It's how can you reduce that through different protocols so it can advance you on your journey. Hopefully these data sets have been helpful to you, my fellow traveler, and I'll see you in the next episode.